listening to What the Truck. I am Chad Prevost here with Tim Dooner. Dooner, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I don't know if you guys just heard that. Well, of course you just. Our new theme song. What about that, Chad? Man, what impact.
You know, it's the result of our two personalities coming together, knowing that we wanted to, kind of level up our sound, like going on a couple of road trips, finding some of that music that we like.
It's true.
This fits our personality.
Yeah.
And man, the way that you found that horn, played a little cowbell.
Played a little cowbell. That was it. Like a little like that, right?
Yeah, and right on time, or more or less on time.
Well, I'll tell you what, brother. I'm kind of like the Black Spider-Man suit. You know, you put me on, you get this symbiotic relationship going on, and then all of a sudden the music starts changing, and the flow starts changing, and the dynamic starts changing a little bit. But be careful. You don't want to turn into Venom.
Whoa, no, you don't want to be good and bad at the same time.
Man, we have an action-packed show this week. This is our weekend edition, but we know we're going into Memorial Day, and a lot has happened since our last show.
Oh.
We're going to run down the headlines, but first, let's pay the bills.
The North American Commercial Vehicle Show, NACV, is a B2B exhibition focused on fleet decision makers and key influencers in the commercial vehicle industry. Leading truck and trailer manufacturers and commercial vehicle parts and component suppliers will demonstrate their latest product offerings during the NACV Show 2019, taking place at the Georgia World Congress Center in Atlanta from October 28th through 31st. What the Truck listeners can go to nacvshow.com and register with code FW19 for a free expo hall pass.
All right, Chad, now that we have the bills paid, about those headlines, so much big news.
President Trump cancels infrastructure meeting with Democrats. He's been hot on the infrastructure bill. I don't know what I was really expecting to come out of the potential $2 trillion package, but he seems to have used it as a moment to trump the Democrats and say that he would not be having a meeting on this issue because they've been saying that he's involved in a cover-up. In the meantime, here's the ATA has been asking for both sides to come to the table about this infrastructure.
Come together.
Yeah, right now, not over our dead body, but with us all alive
over our
and
dead bridges and roads, though, maybe.
Yeah, man. I mean, because here's the deal, right? The dealio is that no matter what, if the economy is thrumming and jamming, or if the economy is suffering, our roads and bridges continue to deteriorate. Can we figure out a bipartisan way to move the needle forward realistically?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the headlines.
We covered this one on the first episode of the week. Shipper at center of Idaho hemp controversy speaks out. So in January, Idaho State Police confiscated 6,700 pounds of hemp.
Yep, we've been talking about it.
The company had shipped it from a farm in Oregon to Colorado. The truck driver was arrested for illegally hauling it. Big Sky is the company that was involved in the lawsuit against the Idaho State Police and the Ada County, Idaho Prosecutor's Office for taking the hemp. It's a big mess. I think we call it the Idaho Hemp Fiasco in our show notes on that one. They filed an appeal. We heard that they pled guilty. Yep. We mentioned that, and Linda Baker had talked about that, but they're filing an appeal now. The owner of it, sure, he said, well, they're holding the hemp, they're holding the truck, and they may even be charging him for storage on it. They're out at least $300,000 now.
I think it's interesting. This story continues to have legs.
Yeah, we'll see who is on the right side and the wrong side of history on this one.
Trucking companies seek to improve fuel economy as diesel hovers around $3.16 per gallon. Yes, diesel's going up and
pain at the pump.
Yeah, it's about six. Trucking companies average about 6.5 gallons, miles per gallon. That's not very good.
No.
We can improve that performance not only with the types of, the better equipment, the better vehicles we can have, but also just just figuring out ways to keep the price down one way or another.
Well, speaking of gas, more ship owners are eyeing Wall Street via direct listings, not IPOs. Interesting. We heard about Uber's IPO that came out. Well, this is about Golar LNG. They've confirmed plans to spin off its liquefied natural gas LNG carrier business into a separate public vehicle, signaling the entry of yet another player in the already very crowded field.
Well, I think that's a perfect, play. They should be doing this action, Jackson.
Well, I think they kind of had to, because before the market opened on May 21st, Golar reported a net loss of $41.7 million for the first quarter 2019. So not really going good there. The announcement stated this will allow LNG shipping investors more direct exposure to the shipping market and reposition Golar's core business towards LNG infrastructure on long-term contracts. Golar is in talks with other owners of similar tonnage to join the shipping company.
Wow. Also, drone technology.
Today in drones.
Uber is seeking approval for San Diego drone deliveries. Yeah, it's all happening with drones. They're going to figure out, it would be Uber Elevate, and they're seeking, exemptions. So from the regulations, the typical thing, so they can do some food delivery in very small packages.
Is it economical to deliver food via a drone? I went via the old-fashioned way to Taco Mac across the street, right? I placed an online order at 12:24. And it's for pickup, right? So I waited, and I actually forgot to go get it. So I waited until 1 o'clock to go there. I still had to wait another 15 minutes to pick up the food, and it wasn't even good. Could a drone improve that time, or is there a bottleneck at a disreputable restaurant?
Yes, it could and would. That's all I have to say on that matter.
All right, do you think that'll help my Uber stock?
Yes, because they're, not entering a very competitive business in this case.
It's just been hanging out at $41. This is a big one, though. This is huge. So this is combining almost all the things we talk about. Medical drone delivery startup Zipline has raised $190 million in funding. They've raised over $1 billion.
I really like this company. Yeah, we've covered them for a year, and they're just doing some really awesome stuff. Tell us some of the details.
Well, they're so what they really do, and if people aren't familiar, this isn't delivering food. This is actually delivering medical supplies to places that really need it. We're talking about
no infrastructure.
Africa, right? Yeah, we're talking like Africa. By the way, shout out to Nigeria. We have a listener there. We saw it on our heat map. Now you got drones if you get sick, but Africa, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the Americas, parts of South America, just where the infrastructure doesn't exist to just, you can't do 2-day shipping in a lot of places in the world. We kind of have a lot of first world problems we complain about here, but Zipline's addressing some real issues.
And shout out to our listeners in South Asia and Southeast Asia, where Zipline is actually also doing some of their airlifting medicines during emergencies. We even have listeners there.
All right, attention. May we have your attention, please? Perhaps an industry in crisis. There's our focus story today of the weekend, and we don't always do a focus, but this article that our CEO, Craig Fuller, put out and has garnered so much attention, and I think it's really important for everyone to hear.
Yes.
Chad, tell us a little bit about that. We'll talk about it, but let's go through a little bit of the copy.
For the freight market, 2019 has been shaping up as a tug of war between the bulls and the bears. We've been talking about it a lot. The large enterprise carriers that rely heavily on the committed business, as we often refer to it as the contract. They have been enjoying a, decent year, while the small carriers are heavily exposed to the transactional spot market. They've been faced with a tough market.
Yeah, I mean, the disagreement has been obvious on Wall Street earnings reports. We cover them here all the time. The large carriers have spoken about decent freight conditions and have been far more optimistic about this than, Facebook message boards like your former guest on the Road Dog show. You had the guy from the road Rate Per Mile Masters. Those guys... Yeah. But, I love to read that board, and I know Craig loves to read that board, because you get to really hear from people's perspective on these things.
Even if it's highly emotional.
Well, yeah, their highly emotional issue has been just that. They think the market is sucking right now.
Until May, volumes had been close to 2018 peak levels. Throughout the year, truckload volumes have been within 3% of 2018 volumes. At times, as we've been reporting, 2018 year-over-year numbers considering the unprecedented demand that the market experienced last year, anything remotely close to last year's volumes is impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty true. If you look at our charts in Sonar, those things are huge. I mean, because meanwhile, spot rates have dropped like a rock. From the June 2018 peak, trucking spot rates are down like over 36%. Last year's peak, DAT national van hit $2.11 per mile. And today, Chad, it only is $1.36 per mile.
Egad.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think the reason for that might be?
Well, starting earlier this month, it appeared, we've been talking about the spring surge might deliver all these these high results in the second quarter, and it would make total sense. But volumes, they basically it was muted for a while, and then on about May 9th, it all changed. Once that announcement of the tariffs happened, I mean, the port volumes have been driving stuff out of the LA market for most of the year, to be honest, and everything has fallen off a cliff.
Well, in Sonar, we have the OTVI index, which measures the total amount of contracted freight in the market. That peaked on May 9th, but it's dropped by over 6% on May 16th. Like you said, May is typically this strong month, so the drop is even more significant, and there may be even more bad news.
Well, there is more bad news. I mean, oil prices have been going up since the start of the year. The benchmark, WTI oil price, it rallied from 46.31 on January 2nd of this year to 60.97 on May 13th. So very recently, about 10 days ago. And so that's a 32% increase. Truck stop retail diesel prices have moved from a low of $2.96 to $3.10 per gallon. It's gone up a little bit in that case. Large carriers that buy at the wholesale rack prices, Dooner, they've seen their wholesale assessed fuel from $1.70 to $2.20 per gallon. So everything's going up, man. And IMO 2020 could just raise that another who knows how many cents.
Giggity. Giggity, man. I think it was around 50 cents. I think it's going to raise it about 50 cents. But, we have to ring a little bit of a sad cowbell now for the carriers, because this is where the article is really pointing to a big pain point. Carriers expanded their fleets en masse last year. They may not have focused enough on optimization. And as money dries up in the industry, banks are going to foreclose on those trucks. They got to pay the piper now that all these deliverables are coming. And ultimately, as we see almost every week, we're going to see, small and medium-sized carriers suffer, shutter their doors, and probably a lot more consolidation as the bigger guys just grab up market share while they're weak.
It's not looking pretty from a carrier's perspective.
So who wins in a market like this, though? You do FreightWaves now all the time.
The pendulum swings back and forth. It's the cyclical cycle, and I'm not trying to get too philosophical here. The pendulum will swing back. No one was predicting this, and this is why it is so interesting each and every year in this volatile industry. We are following the data. It's almost like, don't blame the messenger here. We seem to be seeing something for the past now week and a half. We've been saying volumes have fallen right when we were expecting them to start really picking back up. We were going to have a hot summer.
All right. I would say that who really wins right now, though, especially on the carrier side, are well-managed fleets who are using predictive data, things like Sonar.
Good point.
To really capitalize on the marketplace, especially against their less tech-friendly peers who are really living by the day on these spot numbers, which, it's not a great day to be doing that another day, another series of days. And as the data is showing, it looks like it's only going to get worse.
Stay informed with us on our FreightWaves, our new and improved FreightWaves.com site. If you're a broker, I suppose you're playing it in between, and you're going to be trying to find the opportunities here as well. And we talk to a lot of brokers.
All of these headlines and more can be found on our brand new and improved website at FreightWaves.com.
And now it's time to play Earnings Over Under. I'm undefeated.
Earnings Over Under. Phil Moody has just walked into the office. Phil Moody.
Yes.
Introduce yourself to the audience.
My name, like he said, is Phil Moody.
Yeah. What do you do around here?
So I do event marketing.
Nice. So you should know everything about earnings.
Yeah, of course.
All right. That's
I know
what we like.
As much about earnings as I do about Iranian history.
I'm hoping that Phil Moody isn't just a tomato can, isn't just Hey, and a little combo for Iranian history.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm hoping that Phil Moody isn't just here as a tomato can to help you pump up your numbers, because the new rules for this game is that either Chad or myself can be the moderator. I can't get in that chair to start my own streak until Chad loses, so I know where my vote and my bias is going to go. You guys know the rules.
This is a setup, I can tell.
You know what?
This
You're
is a
all
setup.
getting the same questions, and you actually have more access to the production sheet than he does, so let's start it out, man. It's earnings over under 225. Amount Apple made an informal bid per share of Tesla in 2013, but under the consideration was that Elon Musk had to step down as CEO.
More or less in 2013? I'm going over, baby! Over!
All right, took the over. What are we going to get out of Phil here?
225, what, 6 years ago?
2013 would be 6 years ago.
Since you went over,
You're already great at math.
I got to go under.
You're going to go under. Yeah. Well, you'd be wrong, man. Whoa. The booth is not kind to newbies. So back in 2013, the reason I bring this up, it's not outdated news. The news had just come out that and because of this stock, Tesla stock, I think it's down to 201 right now. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of pointing out that back in the day, they had this chance for Apple to do it. If you recall, Apple was really trying to get into the autonomous car game, and they were trying to actually build their own or find an OEM to do it for them. They eventually got out of that space, but around that time, things were heating up. So quick, for bonus points, do you guys think that would have been a good sell for Tesla, or were they rebound?
I think they would have definitely rebounded.
Yeah. I mean, their self-driving software is pretty high up.
The drama that Elon brings to the table, too.
Yeah. They use RGB instead of LiDAR, too, which is pretty advanced technology.
Who am I to argue with Apple? Yeah, I mean, really, to answer the question, now knowing what I know, I would say I would have gotten out of that action.
You would have sold.
Yeah.
Okay. You would have fired Elon and sold.
Yeah.
All right. It would be interesting to see. Like, you'd probably have to charge with a lightning port or something, your Tesla. It would, like, some sort of proprietary connection.
Tim Cook's a smart guy. He would have known what to do there.
Most Tims are. Ocean Carrier HMM. We're going to start with you, Moody. Keep the microphone right in front of your face. Ocean Carrier HMM. $155 million in losses in the first 3 months of 2019.
Goodness gracious.
Do they lose more than that or less? So the over would be they lose more.
I'm going in the first half of 2019.
Yeah.
I'm going less than that.
They lost less. Okay.
Yeah.
That they lost less than 155 million, and he went
less.
Under.
Yes.
I guess I will, in the spirit of good competition, I will go over.
Well, you were smart to do so, because the ocean has been a hard place to make a buck these days.
Really?
Man, they lost $150 million, man. It's just,
wow.
Label just bleeding out on the water. Isn't it rough?
Oh, it's like batteries are exploding everywhere.
It is like batteries are exploding everywhere. Batteries not included. You guys ever see that movie? They lost $159 million.
59.
Yeah.
Just over.
Yep, just over. Carbon tax, right? They're thinking of instituting a carbon tax. $45 per ton. Under.
Wait, over under what?
$45 per ton. Is the carbon tax going to be more than $45 or less than $45? All of these numbers are either more than or less than.
This is so easy.
If I haven't explained the rules.
I am going to say it should be over.
Okay. He's got over. Modi, what do you think? Is it going to be over or under $45 a ton?
That's quite a lot. And
yeah.
Again,
but you really need, like, in sort of gamesmanship, you really need to pick up some points here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Again, in the spirit of competition, got to go under.
And that's why I invited you in this room, and that's why I allow you to work behind me, and that's why I invited you on the show. Phil Moody, you may work.
The comeback has begun.
Of course he does. So this
you can't help him.
Oh, I didn't help him at all. The carbon tax is under $40. It's $40.
Well, you told him
under
what
45.
To say, yeah.
Well, I'm just telling him how the game should be played.
That's all right.
It's just a little bit of a hint. So he has 1 point now, but isn't he down? It's like 3-1, right?
It's 2-1.
2-1. 2-1.
I am 3-0, but it's 2-1.
You're right. And there's only 2 more questions to go. So yeah, you're really gonna have to fight this one out. This is gonna be a battle for the blood.
When the Red Sox were down 3-0 in the World Series.
Yeah,
came back.
Well, that was in the World Series, the AL Championship. But yeah. You tried.
I know as much about baseball as I do Iranian history.
I know you. Well, a little cowbell for the Red Sox history. Okay, it's your question first. Yeah, because he went first, didn't he? Oh, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. You were going first. You can't hide behind his answers anymore. You can on the next question, but not this one. Okay, $25 million. The amount in bonds that the Georgia State Board has approved for freight railroad improvements.
Ooh, Georgia's done a lot for freight improvements.
Yeah.
Building that inland port and everything.
Yeah.
I'm going over on that.
All right. They're going to go over $25 million.
Yeah, I mean that's what I feel like too. And over. Oh, this is tough. They're got it on their inland ports. So they're going to go over 25 million. Yes, they are.
You're going to totally block his point or his loss of point?
Sorry. I feel like they're totally going to go over that. In fact, I think by a lot.
All right. Well, you know what? It's unfortunate you feel that way because you're both right. You both get a point, but it doesn't do much to advance the game.
No, I feel bad. All
right. Well,
I feel bad, but I'm
let's
right.
just move on with our lives. Let's move on to the next question. $39. The amount the MTA approved New York City tolls will increase to by 2020 for a 4-axle truck without an Easy Pass. So will it now cost more or less than $39 to drive a 4-axle truck in New York across that bridge?
More.
So it costs more. Okay, over. He's going with the over.
What does it cost today?
What does it cost today?
That's a life.
Yeah. I mean, you should know this stuff. I mean, you should know all about the tolls.
New York City. I've yet to drive a truck into New York City.
New York City. You ever remember that salsa commercial where he's like, New York City? He looks at the can of salsa jar. Oh, everybody can. That's an old-fashioned one, man.
We'll get the next one.
Yeah.
You said over? Well, I got to come back, so I got to go under.
Yeah. You know,
It's just,
the coffin, the cowbell had already been nailed on your future. It was a close one. It was $39.12 that it's gone up to. And that's for trucks without an Easy Pass, right? If you have an Easy Pass, the same toll increases to $23.16 for a 4-axle truck with the Easy Pass. That truck was about $22. I think that it's something like $35 or $36. Either way, it's an increase of a little over $1. But those tolls are already pretty expensive. You think of that every time they go through. That's not even just port charges, all the other stuff. Now you got another. I mean, get an Easy Pass, first of all. Like, if you don't have an Easy Pass, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah, for whom the cowbell tolls.
Yeah, no cowbell for the truckers that don't have an Easy Pass. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's a difference of $16.
Well, Phil Moody, thanks for playing.
Congratulations, Chad. You are now 4-0 at earning over.
This
under.
is shocking. This is a shocking development. Phil, it's been great to have you on.
Yeah.
And tell us what is the most exciting thing that you do day in and day out? Tell us a little bit about
will you market this loss?
Yeah. So working on our events, as many of you know out there and people in this room, our events are pretty badass.
Yeah.
So planning and preparing for those is really exciting. We got an awesome one on the horizon coming up in November, Chicago, November 12th.
Where do we go to find out about that one?
You can go to FreightWaves.com and look at events, MarketWaves19.com. We might have some big news coming out on that in the next 7 days.
Is Phil Moody your real name?
Yes, I was actually named after Phil Moody, the keyboard player in Chumbawamba.
Okay.
All right, and the Moody goes, okay, can you go get Kyle? We have a game to play with him called On the Radar.
On the Radar, presented by Sonar.
Kyle's in the studio. Kyle, thank you for joining us. You are going to be here for our On the Radar segment, and you seem like you may be qualified for the job. Tell us a little bit about what you do here.
Yeah, man. So I just moved over to customer success, client success. Anybody who needs help figuring out Sonar from essentially how to log in to how to predict the future, I'm going to help you figure out how to do that.
Ooh, and a little cowbell for that promotion. He sold so much.
And
Sonar.
I can see why. I mean, the way that the dude can talk some Sonar, and you only been here less than 2 months.
So Kyle, you have kind of an interesting story. Just real quickly, because you used to be a truck driver, and now you're on this data and analytics side. That's quite the jump for some people, right?
Well, see, it's basically the perfect job for me. I jumped in a semi back in 2014. Did about 250,000 miles with no accidents, no tickets. Only got pulled over twice, talking my way out of both tickets. While I was driving, I was teaching myself how to trade stocks and crypto. Wow. So Sonar is essentially my dream platform.
Nice.
I can basically take a look at lines and charts, and hey, man, line go up, money good. Line go down, money bad.
Line even?
Line even, hang out.
He's selling himself short there, making it sound that simple. Well, in some ways, it is very simple. And if this line goes sideways, what, you pull into a pilot?
Yeah, you hang out and you take a look at the charts. No, it's not that simple, and that's what I'm here for. So if anyone has any questions ever, I'm just one phone call away. I'm one email away.
I have one. I
Go
do
ahead.
have one
Go
before you
ahead.
tell us what's on the radar. What is the best rest stop in America that you've been to?
Dude, I-80, coming out of Salt Lake, West Windover, Nevada. Pull in there about 5 minutes past the border. Roll in, pull the brakes. You get a free shower. You get a $5 buffet coupon.
Woo.
Normally like $18 buffet. 2-for-1 drinks.
Wow.
$5 match play. You go on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and you just sit there and play blackjack, and there's no one there. And it's a great place to chill. You can
Jeez,
take your 34-hour reset. You can roll on down the road.
I was going to say, how do you get anything done in your HOS?
Yeah,
with,
may
place
all
like
the
that?
lines remain flat
What
for
an oasis.
opportunities like
How about for
that.
that rest stop? All right, Kyle, so what have you seen? What's emerging? What trends are out there? What do shippers and what do carriers need to know going into Memorial Day weekend?
Well, with shippers, man, I actually just saw some pretty much breaking news and want to cover that and get into that. Penske Logistics is going to lay off 80 guys, close a terminal in Indiana. So
Wow.
another one bites the dust, possibly. That's something to really think about.
Will that be in the head haul index?
Yeah, so head haul, that volume's going to be affected by 80 drivers in the market. Those are probably going to be your local guys. So you're going to more look at the CTRI for that Indiana location, because that's the city hauls. So with a decline on the city rejections, you're going to see some trouble in there, or you're going to see an availability to run in there and grab that if you're a carrier.
Nice.
And in terms of basically the carrier
Well,
aspect.
not nice. I mean, that's awful that they're losing the jobs, but, they'll probably find some.
Yeah, so in terms of carrier issues or possible places to find a advantage, really what's going to be told is the story coming after the holiday. If I was you, if I was in a truck or if I was a fleet manager, I would take the next few days to literally turn off anything involved with freight or diesel or trucks and enjoy these next 4 days, because after Tuesday, if these volumes don't pick up, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad.
Okay.
Wow, that is interesting. Talk about going sideways. Just like go chill out at an oasis. You know,
So,
I mean, following the sonar data.
Yeah, so what is the other action? Is there an actionable index they should be looking? I know they're supposed to chill. They're supposed to enjoy Memorial Day and not freak out too much with all this bad news, not go too crazy on the data, but what's the other index they should be
Well, and
looking
that's the great thing about sonar is that it gives you the position to go ahead and be proactive instead of reactive. You want to take a look Sunday and Monday at the outbound tender volume for not just the USA, but specifically your market. And depending on the directional move of that line, I mean, for example, there's markets right now that are running up. Dallas had a pretty good run up today because that market's moving. That freight is going to get moved before the holiday. I don't want to scare anybody. I don't want you to think that you're going to come in on Wednesday and the doors are going to be closed by any means.
Oh,
and
who gets Monday? Some people get Monday and Tuesday off.
Yeah, well, by Tuesday, the reporting's going to happen for the volumes previous. And then by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going to be able to see that general directional movement. In terms of the general directional movement, if we see it rolling up again, then it's all sunshine. And then shippers need to be cautious of that. If the volume starts to move up in the nationwide level and we start seeing carriers, for example, like that Penske thing that just happened in Indiana, if carriers are not able to see where their directions are going, they could be at risk for some potential shakeups. But I don't want anyone to think that things are going to remain the same very long.
No, I like that you brought it home to your original story, too. So you put it back in context. That was very much appreciate that.
Things will not remain the same. Kyle Cunningham bringing it to us.
Yeah, Chad, well, you are the host of FreightWaves now with someone who just walked in the room for fast-paced forecast. We'll get there in a second. We'll introduce her during that segment. But because you cover FreightWaves now, you are also a sonar expert. What's on the radar going into Memorial Day weekend?
Well, I think without a doubt, the main story is that this like slightly troubling sign of volumes slowing down is turning into a much larger indicator, and it's definitely concerning. We are keeping an eye daily on whether or not we are entering a freight recession. Sobering news. Not necessarily true. The damage may not be completely done, as I think Kyle just kind of indicated. There is a bit of a proactive. We can make some choices. We can make some strategic advantages.
A little cowbell for that. A little cowbell for your optimism there. I agree, and I think that a platform like Sonar, having these things on the radar, looking out for them, is really what is going to give you that competitive advantage in the market.
Well, one last thing before I go, I just want to highlight on the fact that, everyone talks about the China tariffs and what's going on and freight moving around the world and across the border. Mexico is actually the U.S. #1 trade partner right now. And so what I want to say in regards to that is nobody knows the invisible hand of the market. The freight still has to come in. People are going to buy stuff. They might not be buy the luxury goods. They might not buy the stuff that's not needed, but they're still got to buy stuff. And so when you're dealing with that, you got to have stuff come in. So watch Mexico, #1 trading partner. Stuff coming across the border. Maybe stuff coming from China, getting cross-docked in Tijuana and trucked across the border. So interesting perspective.
Great. Thank you for joining us,
Very
Kyle.
interesting perspective. The glass of beer is half full. Yes, thank you, Kyle. Give him some cowbell.
Yeah, Kyle, you want to hit this before
For
you get
that
out of the studio?
optimism.
Little first time. Give us a little beat. We'll put you in the competition cycle. And he's a musician
Whoa,
too. So,
he's a
wow.
magician and a musician.
Well, thank
All
you very
wrapped
much.
Up into one.
Speaking of radars, it's time to look at the weather radar with
Fast-paced forecast.
Emily Zink. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, seems like you have a lot of fun in here. I didn't know what all the
Whoa.
cowbell was.
Oh yeah,
until I walked
Well, this is
in
Bessie.
the room.
This is Bessie. Emily is
Bessie.
new with us. She's a new anchor on FreightWaves now, and you're getting involved in all sorts of things. You're getting involved with the podcast as well. You just came on now to do a little weather with us.
Yeah.
There'll be tons of other projects, but just real quick, introduce yourself. Where have you come to us from?
I
What
came-
storm blew you in?
Omaha, Nebraska. We had
Ooh.
one of the worst winters on record. So
Nice.
I said, you know what? No more snow or just a little bit of snow. I think I'll check out Chattanooga. So
Yeah.
it's been very nice so far. And I know the beginning of the week it was rainy and gross, about 45, 50 degrees in Omaha. So
Ooh, yeah.
we were sitting pretty in the 80s. So yeah, the big story though this week, unfortunately, severe weather. We are in the peak of severe weather season. We need to be weather aware at all times, no matter where you live, especially if you live in an area prone to not just tornadoes, but high winds and hail and everything like that. And unfortunately, on Monday, I think about 18 total tornadoes were reported in about 5 different states. That included Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, kind of all over. So at that point, there was a lot of damage, but no deaths, which
Okay.
is always good to hear.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, last night there was a very bad tornado that ripped through a city in Missouri, a small town there. 3 people unfortunately died because of that. I was watching a report. An emergency official there said they're lucky that more people like in Joplin or anything like that did not die because I guess this town just took a direct hit from this tornado. And I actually was watching some incredible video. A trucker who was actually not in this city where this tornado hit, but I think he was in Jefferson City, Missouri. He said he was in his cab of his truck when this tornado hit, and he said it was the most terrifying thing he has ever experienced. He felt like his truck came off the ground, and when he got out to assess the damage, half of a house was actually underneath his trailer.
Jesus, that sounds like Twister or the Wizard of Oz or something.
Well, I was going to say it is a way of life there for a lot of Missourians, and I think the same exact thing was happening again today in terms of the forecast. I know no one, you don't want anybody to die,
Yeah.
but I'm grateful that more didn't.
Well, what do you do? So you mentioned the trucker in his cab. Is that a good place to be in a tornado? Where do you go when one of these storms strike? I come from Boston, so we actually had a tornado in Springfield, but they're super rare. I think the one in Springfield was the first to happen since like 1912. So I don't know much about tornadoes. What would you do?
I mean, obviously, if you could get to a basement, that's going to be your best shelter. If you're inside, say, a truck stop, something like that, you want to be in a bathroom. You want to be in a central location. Say, if you're in a convenience store, you want to be away from the windows, away from the walls. Coming from Omaha, I've had to deal with a lot of this severe weather, a lot of unfortunate events there, too. you're driving. These things, you know that weather is coming. You get the warnings, you get the watches. The warning, of course, is more severe than the watch, but they could strike at any time, anywhere. I heard the number one thing, and I didn't believe this at first, is if you are in a car, you're supposed to get out of your car and lie in a ditch because you are in low elevation at that point, because this trucker is very lucky who is sitting in his cab, because even though he's in this huge piece of machinery, this huge vehicle, this tornado is so strong. Obviously, if a house is underneath his trailer when it's all said and done, I mean, obviously, it's whatever you feel safest doing, but be smart about it. Nice. The biggest thing is don't get yourself in the situation.
So what else has gone on with the weather?
Crazy, not just severe weather, but Denver. Snow in Denver. Say it isn't snow. Yes. Whoa. It's almost, I had to do that.
Morning news the heck out of you right there.
Yeah. So Denver recorded the most snowfall towards the end of May in decades. About 3 inches reported at Denver International, which is big. Actually, Rockies tweeted out a funny photo with snow on their field. And they said, everything's going to be fine. But everything's not fine when you're getting snow in the end of May in Denver. But, what could you do?
Say it isn't snow. Okay, so what are we going to be looking at?
That could have come out of your mouth. That was like one of your cheesisms.
That may be true. I liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
It
was delivered well too.
So one of the things we do on the Fast Paced Forecast is we are looking at the weekend, what to expect over this long Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day.
What are we looking at? What are the things to watch out for there on those highways and the developing situations?
And air travel too, right?
Yeah,
a lot of people traveling.
Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but things are not really looking up.
Oh, sad cowbell for the weather.
Oh, yes. I am sorry about that. Severe thunderstorms remain a threat throughout the plains in the Midwest, and obviously they're still dealing with flooding. They just got hit by a round of storms, and another round is coming. Damaging winds and hail, also a threat. If you've ever been in a hailstorm, I don't know. It does some massive damage. Yes. It is very, very bad.
Cows running. I mean, it was like denting the car. A rental car literally got
dangerous.
damaged.
I mean, if you were driving out there and you see hail, please do not keep driving. It is not smart to do, but it's also not smart to pull over if you're under an underpass. A lot of people think that is smart.
Wait, what?
Why? You got to think.
That's what I would have done, right? Chad, would you have gone under an underpass?
I would totally do that. Yeah, what's wrong with that? You're protected.
Yeah.
Think about it. You can't see in a hailstorm, and people are coming up at a fast pace behind you. They may not see you pulled over.
Why didn't we think of that, Chad?
If you have to, you got to think. If you have to, do it, but it's not the safest recommendation.
All right, thank God, because
I would pull way over.
Chad and I take this show on the road sometimes, and this is good because we drive together, so this is good knowledge for us. And next time, if we're in a hailstorm, and
you need to consult with me. I'm a little worried about you two and your safety.
I think so. We would make all the wrong moves.
Well, and then the other big story, if we're not dealing with severe weather, severe heat in the Southeast. I mean, it is the unofficial start to summer, so it's going to be hot.
Can you go under an underpass in the heat?
Yes, you can. I think that would keep you cool.
Shade.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Who needs a meteorologist?
No,
we have got Emily Zink.
Emily destroyed
it. What the heck is going? What the truck?
She is my favorite podcast meteorologist of all time. Emily, can you give us a little podcast? Can you give us a little podcast? Can you give us a little cowbell for your inaugural appearance on the show?
I really hope Nick Austin doesn't hear that. That was
what? Oh, well, okay.
Don't worry. There's other junior meteorologists on the team.
You are our favorite female.
He's got his position of authority.
And actually, so what's your concept? So she mentioned Freight Weather is Nick Austin. Follow him on Twitter. He posted a ton of awesome pictures from a lot of these storms. He's really into this stuff. He's a fanatic about the weather. He's like people losing sheds, and if you see his feed, you can really get an idea of what's going on in the U.S. where the weather is just like everybody's living a different day in this country.
It is like a different season all over. It's either really hot, it's either snowing inches and inches of snow, or it's crazy weather, hail, flooding, everything. So yeah, you're exactly right.
Rhyme for all seasons, and we have a cowbell for all seasons. So please do us the honor. Nice,
it's like a start of a tea or a toast. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, a tea or a toast. All right, I was going for a drink.
Okay, everybody.
Nice. Thank you very much, Emily. Welcome.
Time.
Yeah, welcome to the tribe.
Yes, great to have you. Thanks so much, Emily Zink.
Wow. Do we have any? It just goes so fast. Chad, you and I through here,
What a good time.
You know, the fast-paced forecast, and that one wasn't even that fast-paced, but there was so much good information that, I was thinking of slow-paced, but there was so much good information, and she may have saved our lives.
She has a voice for radio as well, so.
And a face for broadcast TV.
She's got it all, right?
Yeah.
So fan-stinking-tastic.
Well, yeah, so we have the fast-paced forecast. If you want to know more about weather, as we mentioned, you can follow at FreightWeather, and you can also go to FreightWaves.com, of course, where we have all the latest news on weather. For the podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are heard around the world. Subscribe now, right? Never miss an episode, because we come at you, not once, but how many times a week, Chad?
We come at you twice. It's so exciting, and I just can't hide it. But it's like different. It's not the same. We're giving you the weekend edition where we do the fast-paced forecast and we do the on the radar. We're hitting you with the headlines at the beginning of the week.
Yeah, people and issues we focus on a little bit more in that. So the big stories, we try and do some deep dives on there. This one we went into a focus because that story was just so big about the market.
The weekly market update.
Yeah, people needed a little, cowbell wake-up call on what may be happening. We don't mean to ruin your Memorial Day weekend, but...
It's not for whom the cowbell tolls for the freight industry yet.
Speaking of Memorial Day, Chad, we're working for the weekend. What's got you excited about Memorial Day weekend? What's in your suitcase? What are you doing Saturday? What are you doing Saturday, Chad?
I am going to be mountain biking. I am going to be playing disc golf. Why? Because no one else is doing it.
Some of our best ideas have come with disc golfing. The idea to put a new theme song on the show.
Well,
the idea for On the Radar, fast-paced forecast. All of these things have come, will disc golfing or being...
I want to go where the hail is falling. Not
I
really.
Say where the hail is blue.
No, when it's hail is like light and like just little tiny, it's kind of pretty.
Tell us about you, Chad. But tell us about you. What kind of a mountain bike do you ride?
I ride a Specialized Crave Hardtail 2016.
Now, how much does a bike like that cost?
It cost. I got a pretty good deal on it. It was like $13.50.
Is that a lot for a bike, or is it one of those hobbies that you can go?
Yeah, exactly. Like, for instance, Zach Strickland just spent $4,400 on his titanium frame, dual suspension. Yeah, Linsky.
When you have a multiple suspension on a bike, what does that mean?
Double suspension. Yeah,
I know.
It means you've got suspension on the front and the back. There's only two.
Why? How does that help?
Because
he doesn't ride a three-wheeler?
It makes it cushier.
Or a unicycle?
Actually, seriously, the hardtails, they're lighter because you have less stuff on it.
Yeah.
But, but it's a bumpier ride, especially when you're going downhill. So it's lighter. You can go uphill a little more aggressively. But if you're willing to spend a couple more grand, you can coast down those hills, those bumps. You're just like cruising. I mean, it is smoother, and that's the dream. After I ride this 2016 for a half a decade or so, hopefully I'll be able to shell out a few big bucks. I'm not going to go titanium frame probably, but I'll go carbon fiber. I don't think I'm going to crack my frame like people fear with they get the titanium frames. Going carbon fiber. The only reason I wouldn't, carbon fiber may not be good for the environment. Just the ways that it has to be processed.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the way really CO2 carbon.
Yeah, you could look it up. There's some ways that carbon fiber is being used, the way it's processed, that may not be good for the environment. And whatever we believe about the environment, I care about it. Oh, I'm sorry.
You throw it back to me, man.
I'm so impolite. I just started riffing on what are you doing for Memorial Day weekend?
Well, there's a really cool event that's going on in New York City right now. If I was still in the Northeast, I would be going to, and if you're out that way, I highly recommend it. Go to Fleet, New York City. Fleet NYC. It's going on from May 22nd to May 28th. They're all-day events that are by the port of New York, and they have the Navy ships come through. They have some of the carrier ships come through. They have some of the old-fashioned tall ships go through.
Yeah.
They have Navy bands playing. They have food. It's a whole event. It's a really, really cool event to check out if you're in that part of the world. I would highly recommend it. For myself, I'm still waiting for the family to get out here. And actually, I just got the most heartwarming text from daycare, an image text of my son. It was like, Sebastian is building Chattanooga. Sebastian's my my 2-year-old. So I really miss them. I wish I could have came back for Memorial Day to see them, to be actually out in that area, but the stars just didn't align for that. So I think I'm going to go and explore my new hobby that I've picked up. In Massachusetts, guns are like basically illegal. I've only shot guns in like Lethal Enforcers and like T2, the arcade game. So I might go over to Carter's shooting range over there and just shoot off some guns, man. Get out some steam, shoot at some targets.
Wow, you are really embracing the Tennessee culture.
I'm trying to just ingrain myself in the culture. And you know what? Video games, hand-eye coordination, I'm pretty dead-eye. Like, I was crotch shooting the heck out of, like, these targets that they were putting up for me. Because I usually just I don't go for the bullseye. Like, I go for, like,
whatever
funny things. Yeah, like their
specific
nose.
thing you're targeting.
Yeah, I was trying to give him, like a visor, like the guy from Star Trek, like Geordi from Star Trek The Next Generation. You know, just paint his whole face. I definitely go for a lot of the crotch shots.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
right.
a low blow.
Yeah, man. Anything else before we take off for Memorial Day?
No, I think this is great. We have got a cadence, we've got a routine with thanks to our listeners and everyone else supporting our new and improved with 100% more cowbell show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
On to What the Truck! And bring your little cowbell into the weekend, man!
Happy Memorial Day weekend, everyone. Be safe out there.
And don't pull under the underpass in a hailstorm.
We learned a little something each and every episode.